Hola, hola. Angelica here with Final Mile Español para mí. We are about to learn how to conjugate our third tense in Spanish, the preterit number 3, which is used for specific events in the past. We use the imperfect number 2 to say, I used to run 3 miles a day. Habit or routine in the past, not any one specific event. But we need the preterit number 3 to say, I ran 3 miles yesterday, because we are referring to a specific event in the past. The preterit endings are a bit more challenging to learn. If you find the homework and practice exercises a bit difficult, you can always review the lesson again. You ready? The preterit is a little bit more challenging to learn. So we're going to look at it from two different perspectives. So let's roll up our sleeves and get started with it. This is where we are still in regular verb conjugation. We have learned the present indicative number 1, the imperfect indicative number 2, and now we are learning the preterit number 3, all of which are lessons that belong in regular verb conjugation. Okay, we need intro to conjugation in order to do this lesson. Letters and sounds, it's going to be important because we need to understand the variable consonants, and we need to understand accentuation. The infinitive, gerundio, and past participle are foundational, and we also need syllables. So the foundational lessons. Okay, what is the preterit used for? This is a good time to review what the previous two tenses were used for. So hopefully when I ask you, what is the present indicative number 1 used for? 2 words immediately come to mind. Habit or routine in the present. For the imperfect, it was habit or routine in the past. Okay? The preterit, it is not for habit or routine. It is for a specific event in the past that is over and done with. Action completed in the past. Okay? Like last night, they had dinner at a restaurant. We are going to learn the endings for expressing this kind of timing. So we have the verb for to have dinner, by the way, okay? It's to eat dinner. It's only one word, cenar. So the ending is aron for they. This is what we are going to learn in this lesson. Okay, this means last night they ate dinner, or they had dinner in a restaurant or at a restaurant. Let's say the sentence for pronunciation practice, right? And to start getting used to speaking Spanish, to hearing Spanish, and start associating the words with meaning. Anoche cenaron en un restaurante. Okay, over and done with. I did study for 3 hours, but it is now done and over with. How are we going to say this in Spanish? This is one of the endings that we are going to learn. Okay, and notice that it has a graphic accent. So hopefully you'll remember everything from your foundational lessons, and you can figure out how to pronounce this word. Okay, this means yesterday. It's not ayer. Okay, how do we pronounce the A in Spanish? Ah. Ayer estudié por 3 horas. Okay, and an action that you did, that you performed the day before yesterday, pretty specific event. Okay, let me see. Here we go. So the day before yesterday is said all in one word in Spanish. Ante, meaning before yesterday. Anteayer, limpiaste las ventanas. So please don't say lim here, okay? And if you need to go back and review the pronunciation lessons, please do. You want to make sure that we are pronouncing everything correctly. So let's compare a little bit the preterite to the imperfect, okay? They are both past tenses, and this is why when I say what tense is it, we don't want to say the past, okay? Because the past, several tenses are in the past. The imperfect was usually for a collection of events that happened repeatedly. I was in the habit of doing this and I did it many times. I used to. It refers to that whole collection. The imperfect does. Okay? The preterite, on the other hand, refers to one event. So, for example, for saying, I used to clean the bathroom, we would use the imperfect, because it's something that I did repeatedly in the past and I no longer do it. But if I want to say I cleaned the bathroom last week, that's a specific event. That's the preterite. It is going to take some time, okay? And in this lesson, we are just concerned with the mechanics of conjugation. We want to analyze the endings, learn the patterns so that we can conjugate how we use the verbs. Yes, I am introducing when we use them, okay? But actually using them, that's going to be the tense, use, and time designator lessons, which are after conjugation. Okay, so we will get there. You're not expected to master how to use the verbs here. You are just expected to focus on conjugation. Okay, same three verbs. Okay, infinitives, infinitive endings, and stems. We start with the stems here. Okay, we are seeing for the first time the endings for the preterite. Okay. First person singular and third person singular, okay, yo and él en ella, and with an accented vowel, okay. Notice that these are not standard endings, okay. Remember, tu has been ending with an S. Now we have te at the end. Nosotros, yes, this is the standard ending, okay. And then down here we have a little bit longer than a standard ending. So we are going to have to memorize these endings, and it's going to take a little bit more effort. Okay. Yes, we will review this at the end of the slide. Okay. So let's do pronunciation emphasis. Hopefully you can do that on your own. Try to get ahead of me. There is the pronunciation emphasis. Why? Because it has a graphic accent. No graphic accent here, so it goes there. Graphic accent again. No graphic accent, no graphic accent, and no graphic accent. Okay, so they line up straight up and down. Okay, just like the imperfect. So this is not kin. Okay, it's can. The A always sounds ah. Okay, so let's try it. Repeat after me as slowly as I do. Yo canté. Tú cantaste. Be aware that you put more lung into the highlighted syllable. Él cantó. Nosotros cantamos. Ustedes cantaron. Ellas cantaron. There is a tendency to say cantaron, and that is not correct, okay? Emphasis has to be on the highlighted syllable. Okay, very well. Let's look at the next set so that we can start comparing. Okay, interesting here, right? Again, first person singular and third person singular and on an accented vowel. So that's starting to emerge as a pattern, right? But other than that, okay, what is different here? All the endings for ER verbs start with an I. Okay, notice that for AR verbs, none of them start with an I. And we have a variety of vowels, E, A, O, A. So the patterns are a little bit more complex here. Okay, let's try to pronounce this, and then we'll come back and analyze patterns again. Okay, so The highlighted syllables are the ones that get pronunciation emphasis. Let us try to pronounce again, okay? Closed O. Remember, this is not com, this is ko. And pronunciation emphasis, a little bit more umph for the highlighted syllable. Repeat after me slowly. Yo comí. Tú comiste. Él comió. Nosotros comimos. Ustedes comieron. Ellos comieron. Okay, very well. Let's go and do the IR endings and see if we notice a pattern. Wonderful. We get a break, okay? Just like in the imperfect, that the ER and IR verbs had the same endings, so it is with the preterit. So at least we get a little bit of a break there. Let's highlight the syllables with pronunciation emphasis. And I will bug you again and remind you to smile, okay? So let's say, yo viví. Tú viviste. Ella vivió. Nosotros vivimos. Ustedes vivieron. Ellas vivieron. Okay, so now what are the patterns here? Okay, things that we can remember. Okay, in all three of them, first person singular and third person singular end in accented vowels. Okay, the other ones we are going to have to remember, and this is the way I do, okay? I tell myself whenever I have to conjugate the preterit, I say aste, iste, iste. Okay? If I say aste, iste, iste, that immediately tells me two things. ER and IR are the same. Iste, iste, right? And aste tells me, reminds me, okay, that none of the endings for AR start with an I. All the endings for ER and IR start with an I. So then there's this variety of vowels to remember here. Okay? Another thing to point out. Okay? So first person singular and third person singular are also significantly shorter than all the rest. So hopefully if you can take a mental picture of this, if you have a photographic memory, you can see that, right? First person singular and third person singular end in accented vowels and are significantly shorter. Okay, it's going to be a bit of a challenge to remember that this is, the ending here is O with an accent, but here it's I-O with an accent. There's an I before the O with an accent. Okay, another thing to point out now before we get confused is that the verb form for nosotros, for AR and IR verbs, is exactly the same as it was for the present. And we're going to see all these side by side in the third lesson from here when we put them all together, okay? So nosotros cantamos can mean we sing or we sang. It is the same verb form for the present, number 1, and the preterite, number 3. As well as nosotros vivimos. And this is for all regular verbs, AR and IR, okay? Not so for ER, okay? For ER, the present was, do you remember? Hopefully you remember. The present is nosotros comemos, and the preterite is nosotros comimos. Quite a bit to remember, but if you are keeping up with the homework and practice exercises, these are starting to naturalize, and then they're going to naturalize more when we bring them all together. Once we do the first 5, we are going to start practicing and drilling all 5 tenses together at the same time. Okay, so this will become a little bit easier. So what we did here is we did the columns like we have been learning all of them, right? Let's have a slightly different perspective on this. Okay, so same verbs here, but now instead of going top to bottom on a column, we're going to go across the rows so that we can see more how they compare across the rows, okay? So you might recall, okay, these ended in an accented vowel, okay, and they are relatively short verb forms, okay? E, I. Yo canté, yo comí, yo viví. Let's do the next one. This is the one that I said. Remember, what do I do? What do I tell myself? What is my trigger that I use to help me remember the endings? I say, haste, iste. Okay? That reminds me that ER and IR are the same and that AR does not have any I's in the beginning. Okay? So here we go. Tú cantaste. Tú comiste. Tú viviste. And you're going to do a lot of out loud repetitions when you do the homework and practice exercise, and that is going to make it very, very much easier. Okay, again, short ones ending with an accented vowel, right? Third person singular, they all then end in an accented O, but ER and IR also have an I. AR does not. Ella cantó, ella comió, ella vivió. Okay, let's do the other one. Nosotros, this is the one that is the same as the present for AR and IR. It's a lot to remember right now, but it will naturalize, right? ER is different. Nosotros cantamos. Nosotros comimos. I stay quiet for a moment so you have an opportunity to do the repetition. Nosotros vivimos. Okay? Aron, hieron. Ustedes cantaron. Ustedes comieron. Ustedes vivieron. And ellos and ellas is the same as ustedes. Third person plural and second person plural, they are always the same verb forms in neutral Spanish. Ellos cantaron. Ellos comieron. Ellos vivieron. Okay, let's go on with the next set of verbs. Okay, here we are all set up with our stems, and now we have to remember what were those endings. What do we remember before we start filling this in, right? The one thing we want to memorize, helps me, okay, is haste, iste, the endings for tú, okay? What do you remember for first person singular and third person singular? They were shorter than the rest, and they all end in an accented vowel. What are the accented vowels for yo? E, I, and for third person singular, it was O with an accent and I-O with an accent here, okay? So we remember something, right? These were the two that were the same as the present. This one is different. And these were the aron, hieron. So test yourself, just like I am doing right here, okay? So let's see if we can conjugate lavar in the preterit number 3. Try to stay ahead of me. Well, it happens pretty quickly, so that's going to be hard to do. Yo lavé, tú lavaste, él lavó, nosotros lavamos, ustedes lavaron, ellos lavaron, What do we remember about the endings for ER? They all start with what vowel? Yes, you got it. They all start with an I. So right away we know that this is yo vendí. Tú vendiste. Oops, I forgot to do the highlighting for the emphasized syllables. Okay, here we go. They all start with an I. Yo vendí. Tú vendiste. Ella vendió. Nosotros vendimos. Ustedes vendieron. Ellos vendieron. Okay, there is our emphatic syllable. They all line up straight up and down. Okay, very good. So now, what are the IR endings? We remember from aste, iste, that they are the same. ER and IR are the same. So let's do it. And if you repeat this enough, you're going to get in a chant. Okay? So here we go. Yo subí. Tú subiste. Ella subió. Nosotros subimos. Ustedes subieron. Ellos subieron. Okay, so again, the top to bottom. Okay, aste, iste, all these start with an I, and none of these start with an I. Okay, let's do it across the rows. Do you remember? Short and accented vowels here. Okay, E, I. Yo lavé, yo vendí, yo subí. Okay, don't be too preoccupied about what the verbs mean. If you can remember, that's great. But right now, the focus should be on the patterns, right? Also, how to use the verbs. Okay, if you don't remember it, don't worry about it. But I want you to know that there is a logical explanation for when we use the preterit, when we are referring to action in the past. Specific, not group action, okay? Not repetitive events, but one specific event in the past that is over and done with. Okay, do we remember the endings for tú? That's the one that we need to memorize, right? Aste, iste. So here we go. Tú lavaste. Tú vendiste. Tú subiste. You went up. That's what that means. Okay? Él en ella. Again, shorter than the rest. Okay? Like yo. Ending with accented vowels. Okay? The accented vowel is going to be an O for lavar and I-O with an accent for ER and IR. Él lavó. Él vendió. Él subió. Nosotros. The same as the present for AR and IR, but not for ER. Amos, imos. Nosotros lavamos. Nosotros vendimos. Nosotros subimos. Okay? The next one is Aaron, hieron. And they are the same for second person plural and third person plural. Okay? Let's do it. Ustedes lavaron. Ustedes vendieron. Ustedes subieron. And the same thing for ellos, but we still say it with the subject pronoun. Ellas lavaron. Ellas vendieron. Ellas subieron. Okay, let's do the next set of three. The last set of three, I should say. Same verbs that we used for the other two tenses. Okay, there are our stems. Okay, this is an ñ word. Hopefully you feel comfortable with it. Let's see if we can remember the endings for AR. We know that none of them starts with an I, right? And this is aste, iste. Okay, this is short with an accented vowel. Okay, here we go. Yo bañé. Tú bañaste. Ella bañó. Nosotros bañamos. Ustedes bañaron. Ellos bañaron. Okay, can you remember the endings for ER? Remember, they all start with an I. Did you try it? Oh, I forgot to do the highlighted syllable. Sorry. Here we go. Don't let me forget the highlighted syllables. Okay, if you don't know why some syllables are longer than others, that is a clue that you need to go back and review syllables. If you've already done the homeworks, then just go find them in your binder, pull it out, review it. It will all come back to you more quickly. Okay, so here they are. They all start with an I. Okay, yo corrí. Tú corriste. Él corrió. Nosotros corrimos. Ustedes corrieron. Ellos corrieron. And now, see if you can remember to pronounce this word correctly. I wish I could hear you. Okay, I wish I could see you so that I could see those smiles on your face. Hopefully that was a big enough clue. The endings for IR are the same as ER. Here are the syllables with emphasis. And we are going to say something beautiful like yo insistí. Tú insististe. 3 smiles. Él insistió. Nosotros insistimos. Ustedes insistieron. Ellos insistieron. Okay? And now, across the rows. Do you remember the endings? Hopefully you do. I. Yo bañé. Yo corrí. Yo insistí. Okay? The next set is the one easy to remember because we have our aste, iste reminder, right? Tú bañaste. Tú corriste. Tú insististe. Okay? Third person singular, again, short, ending in an accented vowel. That accented vowel is O. But for ER and IR, we also have an I before the O. Ella bañó. Ella corrió. Ella insistió. Okay, amos, imos. Nosotros bañamos. Nosotros corrimos. Nosotros insistimos. Aron, hieron. Ustedes bañaron. Ustedes corrieron. Ustedes insistieron. And the same verb forms for Third person plural. Ellos bañaron. Ellos corrieron. Ellos insistieron. Okay? So, the best way, I know that this feels like a lot to remember. The preterit is, I think, probably the hardest of them all. That's what, because there isn't a very obvious pattern. There's just little things to remember here and there, little details, quite a few of them. So if you're having a bit of trouble with this, it's expected, right? This is very, very common. Make sure you do the homework and practice exercise because that will help tremendously. And then put it back in the book because you're going to want to review it. Okay. What do we have here? The preterite tense is used to describe specific events which occurred in the past. Okay, this is very specific. It's not I used to speak with my friend. It's I spoke with my friend last night. There is the verb hablar. Anoche does not mean tonight. It means last night. Anoche hablé con mi amiga Lucinda. Repeat the sentence. This is the verb comer. Okay. In the preterite. Ayer, yesterday. Laura y yo comimos en la casa del charro. Read the sentence. We are going to work with this in a few lessons ahead of this one. Towards the end of this module. Hace 5 minutos. This is how we express in Spanish 5 minutes ago. Juanita, strong H sound. Juanita me habló de Durango. Repeat the sentence. Okay. Antenoche no cenamos. Okay, so we just learned that the preterite is used to speak of specific events which occurred in the past. They are over. Sentences. Okay, I'll give you an opportunity to look at it, see if the translation makes sense to you. And then we are going to read the sentence. El viernes pasado trabajaron en el jardín de sol a sol. Read it yourself. Okay, look at the translation. Make sure that you are comfortable with the meaning. And again, we have this ago. Hace 2 semanas. That means 2 weeks ago. So let's read the sentence. Juan y Petra hablaron con los niños hace 2 semanas. Read the sentence yourself. Read the meaning. Make sure you're comfortable with the translation. And now we read. Los alumnos regresaron después de las 9 de la noche. Your turn. Apenas is like just barely, okay? Don't try to memorize the translations, okay? We're just practicing sentences here, getting you used to speaking. Apenas terminaste el proyecto esta tarde. Okay, this is a reflexive verb. We will learn about reflexivity in subsequent more advanced classes. This is the preterit of despertar. Here we go. Me desperté a las 3:30 de la mañana. This is from the verb hornear, to bake. Get comfortable with the meaning and let's say the sentence. Mi mamá horneó 2 pavos para el Día de Gracias. Read the sentence yourself. And we are ready to do the tarea. You will find this, we're still in volume 1. They're pretty thick volumes. We're going to be in volume 1 for quite a while. In regular verbs, indicative, preterit number 3, conjugation. This is the homework ID. Again, screenshot or a picture with your phone to make sure you do the right homework assignment, and it is only 4 pages, so I will show you those 4 pages now. But first, in case you don't have the homework, this is the QR code. Make sure that you remember this discount code, FM for Final Mile, FM YouTube. When you go check out, enter that discount code and you will get a 10% discount. This is what the tarea or homework assignment looks like. There's your color coding. It's yellow because the preterit is yellow. Okay, there are your examples, there are your instructions, and there are quite a few regular verbs for you to practice with. And of course, do not forget the naturalization part. That's what's going to take you to fluency, okay? There's the discount code again. And we are done. Congratulations! You are now able to conjugate the preterite tense, number 3, of hundreds of regular verbs in Spanish. And you know that it is used for speaking about specific events which occurred in the past. I ran 3 miles last night. Keep this in mind as you work your conjugations. Be sure to do the homework and practice exercises and do the repetitions in the naturalization section at the end. You should repeat them, always being aware of pronunciation emphasis, until you are able to get in a chant and conjugate the verbs without looking at your paper. If you are unsure, view the lesson one more time. And when you're ready, I'll see you in the future. Number 4.